Quick disclaimer before we begin, this video is outdated. The game I'm about to talk about recently released version 15 during the making of the video, and with it, all the paths I had recorded and ranked got changed. This really hurt me in my production on this video, but I decided I wouldn't go back and remake the list. I am someone who doesn't like the way the new paths are structured, and feel they take away the compliments I arranged in this video. And if I did the new paths, this wouldn't be an easiest to hardest list, it would be a hard to hardest list, and that's not interesting. So for the sake of the video, this ranking is based around the previous paths before version 15. However, I will make a small extra list at the end of the video to show what new rankings are in the present. And don't worry, I still will be including Marshadow in the current ranking. Finally, this video will spoil the secret boss of Pokémon Close Combat, so if you don't want to know who it is and experience yourself, the door's that way. Thank you for understanding, and let's continue. Pokémon Close Combat is a fighting game with, well, Pokémon. Strictly fighting type Pokémon. A fusion of two genres that go hand in hand in this title. This is a game filled with beautiful design, a unique pixel art style, and a very engaging community. This game thrives off of its online matchups and tournaments. This was an aspect that attracted me to the playing field, but as I entered the scene I realized, oh damn, I am very outclassed. Entering into a very advanced fighting game without any idea of what you're doing is not a good idea. So if I was going to keep up with the pace of this game, I needed some way to practice, and that's when I stumbled upon the path. The path is your tower mode of any fighting game. Beat up a select group of opponents and make it to the end. It's great for training as each character has its own lineup of opponents fit to challenge their fighting style. I never thought much of this game mode, but my interest in this game mode spiked with a very unique reveal. Gorechu is the secret final boss of this game, and you can only face him in the path by winning every preceding fight without losing once. He is a beast of a battle, being tanky, agile, and aggressive. But break through his barrier and you are given a reward so grand, so special, and so encapsulating that it makes you feel like you are the perfect trainer. Now, I can't exactly reveal the contents of this special reward. It's a sacred rule in the Close Combat community that the achievement after beating Gorechu is only for those who have accomplished it. But after beating him once and learning what he guarded, I was addicted. I made it my job to beat Gorechu with every single character in the game. After having beaten the path, Gorechu, and achieved the perfect run with every character, it got me wondering, which character is the hardest to get to and beat Gorechu with? I have come up with a ranking list for all 20 characters, pitting them from easiest to hardest. Before I begin, I need to lay down some terms I will be ranking these characters off of. Firstly, the main aspects I will be focusing on to determine the rankings are the character in question, their mechanics, their path, its difficulty, and how they fare against Gorechu. Secondly, losing and winning battles in the path can pit you against other opponents. I will only be focusing on the opponent lineup to come when you consistently win. Thirdly, I am an average player. This is a list on the perspective of an average player on these runs, so if you are looking for something advanced, this video is not for you. Finally, there will be bias. You don't all get a say in this. It's my list. I can do whatever I want. Regardless, this is my own list, and there are characters who I have an easier or harder time with, and I will definitely be sharing my experiences with them and why they influenced my rankings. Now that we have some terms laid out, let us begin a journey like no other. Let us begin down the path. If you have played Pokémon Close Combat at all, then this entry should be of no surprise. Bewear is the easiest character to pick up in the entire game. Bewear is your average grappler, kitted with 2 harsh command grabs and a very high damage rate. The more you play as her, the more you realize she is a very momentive character. Almost all of her moves push the opponent with devastating damage to encourage cornering. This helps you wail without worrying much about being stopped thanks to her tanky health and her uninterruptible stun. Her path is just as generous. The lineup of opponents may feel threatening, but in execution they are an embarrassment. With several of her fights being against semi-rushdown enemies, guaranteeing her grabs and hypers is a cakewalk. The only downside I can really think of is that Bewear isn't too hefty with combos. But I don't view that as an issue. Bewear is a character where every attack deals significant damage, and those small bursts of damage perfectly counters this kind of play her path centers around. Eventually you sweep through all of them and get to Gorechu, and, well, okay, this is where I need to dock a few points. Just because the path was easy does not mean Gorechu will let up. he will counter your strong attacks. Running Bear Hug can still land if you play your cards right, but that alone won't give you the win. Take it slow with periodic bursts of attacks and you will make it through. Overall, Beware is a perfect start to anyone attempting path runs. Their moveset is very beginner friendly and teaches the player what to expect to come from the others. They are the easiest and most deserving of the most path character ever. Speaking of the most path characters, let's move on to a character who has also gotten a substantially high amount of players to their achievement. Alright, look. The first person to make a Pim joke in the comments gets pinned. In all honesty, Poliwrath is another character who helps teach the player what to expect when doing true path runs. While Beware is all about showing what it takes to win, Poliwrath makes sure the player can execute it. He is incredibly diverse with a very simple mechanic, a stackable power-up. I imagine many players are imposed by this glove when they first see it, probably because it gives them PTSD of the future, but in execution, this is a mechanic any player can catch onto quickly. While yes, a single uppercut will only add 1 point of damage to every move, lending it consistently to get max power is a game changer. Poliwrath's moveset is both fun and diverse. His multi-hit attacks flow beautifully between one another, and he is one of the few characters where you can switch an input in your combo and still get a working result. A lot of the threats on this path are opponents who will try to get right in your face to deal damage, a weakness to the build Poliwrath needs to be strong. Speaking of your opponents, I love this path. Each threat feels designed to counter at least one attack in your moveset. The Lynx, your aerials. Toxicroak, your whirlpool. Medicham, your basics. While they can come as a surprise, it's nothing an all-rounder like you can't overcome. Once you triumph over the others and get to Gorchu, you realize, wow, this is probably one of the only times you will fight this damn rat and not have to change your strategies. I will reiterate, Poliwrath can break through any situation. Against someone such as Gorchu who will throw everything at you, your entire kit is his weakness. A lot of the players who I introduced to this game end up picking Poliwrath first due to his capabilities to be everything at once, and I encourage most beginner players to give him a shot first, because not only is he easy, but he's probably the best example as what is to come. Alright, now let's move on to the actual second highest true path victories. In triple digits... This one has a lot of personal bias towards it. Chestnut is that character you look at and go, oh hey, another starter, and then never touch him once. Even now, I don't see him talked a lot in the community. He's quite forgotten about, which is upsetting because he has a very engaging and easy playstyle. His defense is his offense. With a high endurance rate, it keeps him from being knocked down, especially against heavy hitters, which this path is full of. Play it right with Falling Fortress and a parry and you can return with a fierce counter. That returning power helps give the player an edge across these aggressive battles. In terms of aggression, Medicham gives the player a preview of what is to come. Medicham's moveset is perfect for Chestnut to go against and teaches the player how they need to behave in the upcoming battles. Chestnut is slow with his attacks, making him difficult to combo with, but you don't need to combo. Chestnut's path suffers without delivering the full extent of what Chestnut should be going against, and because of its surprising easiness, Chestnut becomes more of a one-shot wonder like Beware than a challenge. That is why I have him so high up on the list. Learning his defend and punish gameplay is easy with practice, and he is very likely to survive every upcoming fight without struggle. And then there's Gorchu. Part of the reason I have this duo so high is because of this fight, as it's the easiest one. Chestnut is great at breaking into Gorchu's defense while protecting his own, and since Gorchu is so massive and so easy to bait into rushes, pull out two hypers and BAM! Every time I fight Gorchu with Chestnut, I always beat him on my first go. Part of it is because I adore this kind of playstyle and am keen to it. With such a low win rate, others might struggle with this one more, but with all the points I've brought up, this position feels fitting for this father and son duo. Alright, now let's move on to the character with the actual second highest true path victories. What? You all think I'm gonna troll you a third time? Blaziken is everything a new player would look for in Pokémon Close Combat. But if he is so commonly used to be Gorchu, why have I pushed him down? Blaziken is what I consider the barrier between simplicity and actual difficulty. Everyone beyond this point holds struggles in their paths that make them difficult. Blaziken's moveset is very balanced and Shoto based, which gives many players familiarity in what they are getting into to win. His offense game is brutal and he can pull some crazy mix-ups, both in getting in and staying in. He can push you into the air, he can whale you in a corner, and he can even keep you from getting in. This collection of options all flows naturally with his style of gameplay, but that's not the challenge. That comes from his path. As you progress, you will slowly begin to fight more opponents that will take advantage of you getting in and deliver harsh punishment. Great Tusk and Slitherwing are two of the biggest contenders of this threat. Both have insane health and can quickly recover if you can't keep your attacks up. Now, most of your specials are knockdowns, making it rough to combo with, which is something needed in order to win in a path such as this. But those are just a few fights. Most fights in this path can be cheesed easily with just specials, especially Scrafty, whose AI flat out breaks when you spam Flame Kick. Same with Slitherwing, but it's much harder to pull off. Gorchu is no different. Blaziken can help stun him on occasions, but he will block those specials if timed wrong. Thankfully, you have Rooster Roast, which is a very strong weakness against him, even if it doesn't always present the strongest damage output. Blaziken is not a terrible start, but he is by no means easy. I believe the reason he is so commonly won with is because of his familiar gameplay that attracts a majority of players. Even if it's not the easiest time, it's just enough of a challenge that anyone can learn to overcome. I hate Primeape's path. You may hear that and think I am referring to how hard it is. And no, that's not it at all. If it was, it wouldn't be this low on the list. No, I mean that this path teaches the player nothing about Primeape. Primeape's path is so poorly designed, it can come out of left field. It throws in its hardest matchups early, which can be extremely weird to fight. I can understand dumbing down Lopunny's skill level, but Slitherwing? Hell no! He becomes pathetic. And to replace Slitherwing, you would think they would pit you against the Tyroga evolution. Nope, it's Heracross. Heracross has the hardest AI in every path he's in, so putting him at the end doesn't do anything special. Maybe I'm just missing the point about this path? Primeape was my second to last path character in the entire game, and I wasn't ready for this change of pace. But that's kind of the problem, isn't it? While I personally don't like this path, I must admit how easy it is. Primeape goes against a lot of opponents who want to get in just as much as you do. That can be challenging at first, but it can become an advantage the more you attempt this path. Primeape's multi-hits and stuns are very easy to pull off, and it can be just as easy to build hypers, and said hypers almost always land. The only downside is he has some low health, but I don't view that as a struggle when you are the one dealing damage most of the time. Gorchu is a different story. A lot of your regular strategies with other characters don't work here. You really need to think outside of the box if you're gonna pull this one off, especially with your low health. But he has several weaknesses to your kit, like your super can literally dodge his laser altogether. All this combined makes it seem like he should be much lower, but I can't do that justice. While this is a character I still struggle with from time to time, I've heard from others they find him simple to play during his path. Essentially, this is a ranking that is based off more than my experiences. I sucked with Primeape, but with a character like this, others will definitely have an easier time than me. I know this will turn off the mass expense that are Great Tusk players, but I don't have a lot to say about his path. This path is full of opponents with alternating styles of battle. You can go from fighting an intense rushdown unit to a very competent zoner to an absolute health drainer. It's one of the most diverse paths in the entire game. Heck, it even lets you fight Lopunny, which you rarely get to face in regular paths anymore. But that diverse gauntlet is what Great Tusk preys off of. Great Tusk is a character who likes to get in and stay in. Two of your moves center around Great Tusk getting the upper end of the battle by bringing them into your attack range. And with Great Tusk, keeping your opponents in the air while you continue attacking is no struggle. So even though you have a lineup of diverse threats, they mean nothing to you when you have the means to deal with them all. And this comes around with Gorchu, who mixes these two character traits. With your very high endurance rate, you can bait him into getting in, letting you abuse hypers and giving him a barrage of headlong rushes. Speaking of his hypers, he is one of the few characters where his hypers are very specific, and I often end up forgetting they exist. That, and you can get very greedy trying to pull them off, especially if you attempt to dash too much than you know you can handle. But that's the important part of his character. His normals and specials are so strong that you don't really need your hypers. Yes, pulling them off can make for some fun combos, but with the harder characters to come with even more specific hyper moves, I say giving Great Tusk a chance grants them great practice for the harder ones down the line. I recommend this path be beaten sooner rather than later. If you have been paying attention to the rankings thus far, you may have noticed I have not talked about a lot of the newer characters beyond version 10. Most of this is because the characters created afterwards have very intense mechanics that can be hard to pick up, as well as program paths that are designed to give a challenge. But among these 8 characters, there is one that sticks out like a sore thumb. Oh wait, wrong one. When I first picked up Minicham, I had no fucking clue what I was doing. The only fighting games I play are Guilty Gear and them's Fighting Herds, so the idea of double button inputs was foreign to me. After a day I was able to figure out what the deal was, and it showed me that Medicham is a really powerful character. He is a glass cannon, a character full of powerful attacks but has very low health. That may sound like a very challenging experience, but in execution it really isn't. His moveset can feel imposing. I mean, look at it. But a benefit to such a big moveset is opportunity. For example, let's say you start a round with 2 hypers. You can spend it for a Moshka kick and save a hyper, or take a Shushama strike and deal incredible damage. This aspect of spending your hypers helps give the player an edge against these battles, able to easily keep pressure without feeling like they need to expend their strong attack, and rather save it for when the time is right, or escape in a dire situation. This is especially the case for some of the tougher matchups like the Tyrogue evolutions and Great Tusk, who will be very offensive against you. Thankfully, the preceding fights show you what it is like to abuse Medicham's diverse moveset, letting you know how to take care of these bigger threats. And it all comes full circle with Gorchu, who, while still not easy, fumbles a lot with Medicham's strong attacks. If you don't believe me, when I was redoing this path for the footage, I ended up accidentally recording the wrong tab. So I started a new recording, beat Gorchu, then went back to get footage of this path. And that run was so good, I got back to Gorchu and beat him again. Whenever I play as Medicham, I always have a fun time. I recommend every new player at least gives him a try, because he is completely worth it. Also, he taught me this game has guard burst, so that's fun. Okay, I know this is the one everyone expected me to put in the last segment, and for good reason. Slitherwing is one of the most victorious in terms of path runs, but even though I agree he is easy, I don't think he's that easy. Slitherwing is very tanky, and that's one of his biggest saving graces for staying this low, but I can't place him lower because he can be very tricky to learn. A lot of his strong attacks rely on things super obvious to the AI. It is almost always going to try and protect itself. When you think getting in is best, turns out you need to zone, and when you think zoning is best, turns out you need to be getting in. This pattern can get really annoying, especially on a path where your opponents are switching up their gameplay just as fast. Thankfully, this pattern smooths out by the end with Beware, Great Tusk, and the newest fighter. Not just that, but you do have some very reliable moves at your disposal. Silkshot may be crummy in online play, but these AIs fall to it like flies to a lantern. And speaking of flies, you can fly! This doesn't seem like the biggest upside, but against some of these opponents, you will need it to avoid some of their stronger strikes and punish back. Back to those later fights, they are the only things holding this path down from being truly easy. The first 5 fights though, they are mere filling to the cake. That and Gorchu. You have everything you need to beat the brakes off of that rat. Just don't get carried away with your flying and unique stuns, because he can very easily break through. I can see why several people are able to pass Slitherwing, but I can't say he's one of the easiest. I personally struggle with him much more than the earlier characters, so my personal bias is keeping him from being lower. But if you are someone who struggles with Slitherwing and his path like me, just spam 6A. It's that broken. You're welcome. 3 fighters back to back after saying they are hard? Yeah, deal with it. I can confidently say we are past the point of someone being able to win these with little effort. All the remaining characters are ones you really need to put your back into to be victorious. The first of which being everyone's worst totem trial battle, Gamemode. Gamemode is a character I didn't understand at first. I never even knew of his Sanctum attacks until I started attempting online play, but being able to beat this path without the Sanctums is proof of its simplicity. Gamemode has a plethora of moves that work without being used to their full potential, either by being easily chained together or just having every move cause intense knockback. While not the best, he has what it takes for an average player to get through without knowing what they are doing. But I really do hope you go in knowing what you are doing, cause this path is fun to complete. You start against 3 very diverse battles to ease you into it, then you get 3 more who act like the previous fighters, but tougher. Having a spike in difficulty happen earlier than later is fun, and never makes you feel like you want to give up. The difficulty rises twice, however, when it is time for Gorchu. Thankfully, your skill ties with the difficulty here. This is one of the only fights you can make your aerials land without getting punished, which is huge. That and all your damaging capabilities can counter his desperation to get in. I always love going back to Gamemode's path. It's just so versatile and unique compared to the upcoming ones. He's most certainly not the best first pick, but when you can at least enjoy your own failure, that's saying something. When I started doing path runs, there were two characters I was deathly afraid of attempting. One of them turned out to prove my fears in being hard, while the other wasn't that bad. Actually, I'm undermining it. Toxicroak is a character that turned out so much fun, he has become my favorite character in the entire game. His entire moveset is this weird mesh of zoning and quick strikes that flows so naturally it just clicks. Not only does he have multiple options for long distance battle, but those options have options as to how they land. Curved, straight, air counters, long distance counters, they fit any scenario. While a lot of his moveset knocks down your opponent, learning to chain them together is extremely fun and easier to do than a lot of our remaining characters. Now, how does this path combat his shifting gameplay? By running its challenges in reverse. Beware and Primeape are the two hardest matchups in this run. They are designed to teach you how to break through with zoning, then wrap it all up with your normals. This translates well into Heracross, Zapdos, and Tyrogue evolutions because they all feel like different hindrances to what zoning is meant to be. Heracross can get in before you, Zapdos is so fast he could overwhelm you, and with Tyrogue, your playstyle depends all on who the AI chooses. Next is Gorchu, and by god is this one so easy to cheese. He's still hard, don't get me wrong, but of all the characters, I have never seen his AI become so easy to manipulate. His pattern changes depending on how you play, and since your moveset is only two different attack types, it's very easy to catch what he's gonna do next. Now, despite everything I have said, this is in no way an easy path. This path and the way it is structured is an extremely well executed challenge. Every fight is a thrill, difficulty is maintained, and they top it off with a hard but not so hair-churning Gorchu fight. Toxicroak is a fighter that has won a special place in my heart, so if you ever catch me online, I'm most certainly playing Toxicroak. I'm going to drop a bombshell here. I started making this video script before Marshadow was released. Despite how stupid that sounds, the reason I did it was because I was that confident of where Marshadow would be ranked. And let's just say I was appalled by just how wrong I was. On the bright side, this ranking is the only one that is up to date, so you yourself can experience it. And I'm going to start this segment by giving credit where I shouldn't be. This path is pretty effective. Despite how much I hate the new paths, this is one of the few that works. It's a very on and off style, where every fight switches from easy to a challenge. It also doesn't force all the new characters onto you, relegating it to just Gamemode and keeping Passimian in a spot that makes sense progressively. Despite how much I love the way this path is arranged, I don't think it gives light to every part of Marshadow's gameplay. A lot of its focus goes on to the different methods Marshadow can use Spectral Thief. Scrafty shows its combo potential, Kamo and Blaziken show how it is a crutch, and Poliwrath and Toxicroak show its long-range effects. And all of this sets you up to make you feel like you have to use it once you get to Gorchu. Not saying it isn't broken and everyone should use its copy, but that it just feels like it's all you can do by the end. It's all really around expressing that one move, and ignores a lot of other aspects of Marshadow's amazing gameplay. There are some exceptions, like how Heracross makes you use your Shadow Mat variations to their full potential, and Blaziken does a wonderful job at mixing all possible playstyles Marshadow can take up. But that is all the credit I can give. Overall, we have an amazing path that brings out the basic side of a complex character, and that's why I let him take the middle spot of the list. It makes the player have to challenge themselves to improve instead of letting the path do the teaching. I don't deny that's creative, but it doesn't work for me. Before we move on, I want to say the next few entries on this list are very tied for me. I go back and forth trying to decide who is easier and who is harder. My opinions on this can literally change the very next day, but as it is, here is my current rankings. Breloom is a character who doesn't deserve to be this high on the list. One attempt at playing him and you can see how broken he is. Breloom is this confusing fusion of multiple classes to a point where I disagree with the wiki's game style label. He has long distance grapples that steal your opponent's health, he can claim the area with numerous different methods of reach, and his J5B is one of the most guaranteed moves against AIs. Okay, now that I say it, this is definitely a zoner. In short, Breloom is your cheat code. He's not a reliable cheat code, but he is a cheat code. Breloom's diversity allows him to cover all lengths of the ground. It doesn't matter how close or far away your opponent is, there is an answer to hitting them from any distance. This behavior of abuse can filter into almost every battle. Take Great Tusk for example. I told you his J5B was broken, and that's what makes this path pretty bare bones for me. Each fight can be abused for an automatic win, but it takes effort to pull it off. Sure, Beware and Meanshao can be huge curveballs when you first start attempting, but combine your sweeps to use Spore Cannon and have fun comboing without even trying. You can literally speed drain your opponent's health with this move, but all cheat codes need to stop working eventually. Gorchu is not easy with Breloom. This is where you need to learn to stop cheating and actually play, and I can appreciate that. Some people will have a breeze with this abusive playstyle, well, while others will find Breloom much more difficult. It's a coincidence he landed right in the middle ground between easy and hard, as I find him much easier. Regardless of how you view him, he is one of the most fun characters in the whole game. Remember how I said there were two characters I expected to be hard? The actual hard one of those two was the Phalanx. I knew they were never going to be in the lower placements, but finding where they fit amongst the harder battles was a battle itself. When you play as the Phalanx, you play as their leader commanding an army, and as the leader, it's all about priority. When do you save your units and when do you bring them in? When do you charge into the fold or play defensively? Those decisions are what make his moveset stretch to be one of the most violent strategies any player will ever see. It starts you off with the opponents you would expect to face in your conquest. The giants, the tanks, the warriors. But with low experience, you can learn to break into their fray and dominate the challenge. But then the lighter foes you never plan to view a challenge prove you wrong with their speed, aggression, and diversity. Your team will fall, over and over. But as their leader, you get back up and convince your team to try again until you reign victorious towards the mighty threat that is Gorachu. It is up to you to take down this mountain with the best and most violent strategy this path has taught you. Installs. Oh wait, that's not reliable in this matchup? Welp, we'll be here for a while. As I was saying, this is a path that relies on pure execution. It's all about determining when is right to dive into battle and what moves you should use. You can stay in easily, but don't get caught off guard because you forgot to reset your units. You need to be prepared for everything. You see, there is one matchup I neglected to talk about in my monologue, the mirror match. My god, is this one of the most fun matchups in all of the paths combined. It's right in the middle where the AI is at an intermediate difficulty, and this battle feels like a mini boss to test your execution with your character. You both have the same weaknesses, yet you can answer each other in the same way. It's all about outperforming the other, and this battle transitions well into the second half of the path with the lighter characters with aggressive AIs. This fight is so well designed, it's my favorite. Sure, it's surrounded by difficulty, but one perfect matchup is all you need to see what this path wants you to learn about the Phalanx. When I started this list, I initially put Zapdos in the lower tiers, somewhere around 15 to 10, but a lot of that must have been because I had such luck on my first few runs with him that repeating this for footage was a headache. Zapdos, yes, I'm just gonna call him Zapdos, I am not abbreviating every mention of him in the script and you can't make me, is the rushdown unit. His whole gameplay centers around him getting in whenever you can, and all his attacks are movement based in some way. Thankfully, the path does a pretty good job at teaching the player what it's like to play Zapdos. To start, they pit you against stronger foes to see if you can think on your feet, a style you need to pick up for this run, excluding Beware. I don't think a grappler is best introduced to a rushdown unit this early on, but it still works, even if it's miserable. It then devolves into easier fights that require greater execution. Don't be fooled by their small sizes because they will make you lose this run, especially if you get cornered by Toxicroak or pull the wrong evolution with Tyrogue. Same advice goes for Gorachu. While definitely one of the hardest matchups, seeing how he is designed to prevent approach gameplay, if you can get in and hold it, you will come out on top. But I also can't blame you for taking it slow as Zapdos and spamming Lane Storms, since everything else is extremely dangerous. Now, not a lot of what I have said is outright terrible. It's still beatable for a normal player, but it depends on the player. The issue I have with his moveset and Zapdos overall is it requires high execution. Matching the pace Zapdos wants you to play with what you can perform is very difficult. I am very bad at comboing aerials. Not only do I struggle to even perform his Kilo Vault, but I always choke when I get up there and mentally spam B. Also, I'm not a fan of his sweeps and specials, but I must admit his back A is one of my favorite moves to spam in the whole game. As you can see, this is another opinion-based entry. This is why he's among the other entries my opinions will always change. He can be great for others to pick up, just not for me. When I started this segment, I realized I had zero memories of my experience of Minxiao and her path. As I replayed it, I remembered why I had forgotten about it. Minxiao's playstyle is all about slow attacks that you can switch between so you get in a better position in battle, such as dashing through or over your enemies, then switching your attacks to either doing half of a move or a bonus attack on top of your move. How does that unique moveset get challenged by her path? Simple. It doesn't. This one is a lot like Primeape where it teaches the player nothing, but unlike Primeape, I can say with confidence this path is terrible and overly difficult. Heracross and Phalanx counter the playstyle Minxiao wants to play, and that can be hard to get through for the first fights. But Blaziken literally stops everything the player can throw at them. Maybe as one of the last fights, an opponent that stops everything in your moveset is fun. But as the third, the player will have barely learned anything about Minxiao yet. A wall this early is not what you should be giving the player. As for the final Final 3, there's nothing special here that helps you learn Mean Shao. Now, there are 2 fights of this lineup I didn't mention, that being Scrafty and Great Tusk. Scrafty's AI in this game likes to spam a lot. I actually think this helps Mean Shao because it challenges them to get in and not get carried away and outplaying him. Great Tusk is one of the strongest characters, and pitting them against a character of such low health is a neat challenge. Both of these fights aren't particularly balanced, but at least they let the player know when to switch playstyles. This path genuinely sucks, and I actually prefer the fights you get when you lose the main path instead. Thankfully, it's not the worst thing to fight against. I just wish it was well defined and maybe it wouldn't feel so much harder than it actually is. Wait. Oh, I need to talk about Gorchu, right. Well, I got nothing. Considering this path is so poorly designed it doesn't prepare you for this fight at all, I must admit she definitely has one of the easier Gorchu fights thanks to this, which is why I can't place her higher, but it's still terribly designed. This is one I bet a lot of people saw coming for all the right reasons. Heracross plays the role of a guard breaker who holds down the pressure and claims the air. After showing everything the other paths had to offer, someone who can destroy guards seems valuable and easy to win with. Until you see his moveset. This is a character with special inputs so precise and long it can feel harboring to string together. Saying this probably makes you think, oh, Heracross is this high because you aren't good at playing as them, and I'm here to say that isn't the case. I'm quite decent with Heracross. Granted, I've never been good at hold-based attacks, but I can still make them work if I put my mind to it. His mechanics and specials are just a part of the problem that puts him this high. The problem is executing them in our battle lineup. The first 2 fights are very gracious when it comes to teaching you what Heracross is about. They give you a chance to experience his moveset by staying open, and pray you make it count because after Primeape, this path spikes its difficulty hard. There is value in putting 2 air countering characters this early on, but I would argue they weren't low enough because even at this AI level, Toxicroak and Phalanx will not lay it on you easily. Mean Shao is this tug-of-war battle where you both get in, deal damage, then switch with the other. It's fun, but I've never completed this matchup without my life force on the verge of death. Beware and Slitherwing are themselves at their highest difficulty. What more is there to say? They are gonna kick your ass. And then you have Gorchu. It is not easy to close the gap in this one. Be prepared to fight this one time and time again because with half of your moveset restricted with his air control, you have to stay on the ground and whittle him down. Now I'm gonna come clean here. None of this is hard. The only reason it's miserable when you play through it is because you make it hard. There isn't a single matchup here that hates you. It feels that way because that window between execution and difficulty is that tight to squeeze through. Heracross is someone you need to dedicate hours into mastering, but you have a very reliable training room and pathetic first 2 fights to practice with. Take some time and flowing these inputs together will make you the epitome of a masterful Heracross player. Passimian is a very interesting character for me. In fact, I was so torn on it that in the script, he's the very last entry I'm writing because coming up with a way to explain my emotions here is very complicated. Passimian dominates the challenge through stance. He has 2 varying movesets that depend on if you are holding the ball and if you are not. Holding it gives you long range attacks and blitzing speed, while getting rid of it grants you more direct attack methods. That means there's a lot to learn about him. What moves are vital when do you switch your gameplay, and even what moves make you switch to begin with. And honestly, I love pushing that variation to be as strong as it can be. One problem: how can you push it when this path doesn't want you to? Scrafty, Heracross, Great Tusk, and Kamo all fall easily to the ball variation, while Blaziken and Primeape really play into the hand variation. You could try to play the other side with them, but you are most definitely going to get wailed because these battles really punish you for switching. The AIs on this path are that tough, and if you are someone new to Passimian, you aren't ready to keep up with it because you might miss input and switch stances. And as a new player, you want to switch and practice both sides to get good with him, but you can't do that because these opponents are only weak to one side of him. And don't get me started on the Gorchu fight. You spent the entire path losing because you wanted to switch your stance and failing, so you learned not to. And what do you need to win this fight? Both stances. It's a huge unexpected change that will keep you from winning this fight until you relearn to master both. I am someone who is on the argument that stance should be about switching between movesets during battle, not siding to one and using it to win the battle, which is what this path makes you do, and it's hard because of it. If the battles on this path were more willing to bend to that, I would enjoy this path so much, but the battles don't work for Passimian and it gives the player the wrong idea of him. But then again, it's not like anyone else will take on the mantle of such a difficult path. Oh hey there, Tyrogue. Do you have something to say? No wonder your path is so bad, Passimian, because it was designed for Tyrogue. Every single fight is copied and pasted. In fact, it's the exact same path. I see what's going on here. You intentionally copied Tyrogue's homework so you could give players a fun time, but it became harder because it wasn't designed for you. Isn't that right? Sorry about that, Tyrogue. Hopefully no more people plagiarize your things. Go off now. I'll get to you in a minute. I need to deal with the other bully first. Scrafty was a character who I went in expecting to be the most simple to beat, but let me tell you how shook I was when I came to see just how ruthless both he and his path ended up becoming. As a sly and cunning Pokemon, you need to learn to play dirty if you are going to win. That is where Scrafty's secret weapon Contraband comes in. This is a move that lets you scroll through a mass set of tools to be used in battle. These attacks start with super specific conditions to land, and progressively get more useful the longer you wait it out. And you can use a hyper to shortcut to the harder options if you need action immediately. All this combines to make a character who should destroy their own path by cheating. In fact, let's go through the list of fighters to see what Scrafty can do. Chestnut is a great start considering how pathetic he is no matter what level of AI he is on. Bewear and Great Tusk are manageable, but they rush on you so much you can't pull off the necessary traps to counter them. The Fleas will also try to rush you down but with extra movements, and you need to think ahead to counter them. With Meanchow, you need to rely on your opponent to rush in and defeat. Blaziken and Slitherwing will do everything they can to break through your stalling time, and you need to attack accordingly based on their behavior. And as for Gorchu, you need to know what to send out when confronted with every possible situation. If you can't see the issue, let me spell it out for you. Scrafty is designed to go against other players who can slip up in the face of traps, not against a CPU who can read ahead of your traps and take advantage of your actions. Your entire playstyle is to try and use anything at an appropriate time to get a fun and chaotic result. You don't get that here because each AI is programmed with guards in mind. You can't send out everything and get a slip up. You need to find the specific weakness. Take your Smoke Bomb for example. The Poison Barb and Lucky Punch are perfect for a fight against Bewear, but if you miss your timing, you send out a weapon the AI just won't get affected by because it's a CPU. I know that is only one example, but if I go down the list of how every AI just counters everything Scrafty can do, we will be here forever. To have a character who is designed to be chaotic and fun be held back by a path that doesn't hold up to what the Scrafty experience is supposed to feel like sucks! However, I must admit he has a few graces that keep him from being the hardest. Firstly, he is super spammable with his hypers and Scraggy Swing. It certainly helps during the battles, but it strays away from how the player should be learning Scrafty. Another thing I enjoy about Scrafty is his 3A. I prefer this grab so much more than Zapdos's, and I haven't had this move miss for me yet. Overall, I hate Scrafty's path. He should work, but the mere fact you are going against an AI program to overcome the one flaw a player should experience, Scrafty's key to winning, makes him a miserable challenge. Now we have come to the final two. These two are the highest because of my preference and painful experiences, as they put me through complete and absolute hell. And I have a lot to say about them because of it. Now, which of these two fighters is the hardest when it comes to their path? Well, I think the answer should be pretty obvious. For those who have played Close Combat, you are probably very angry and confused with this choice, and if you haven't, you are also confused. To explain, let's look at Tyrogue himself. Yeah, that says a lot immediately. Tyrogue is the worst character in the whole game. He has pitiful health, pitiful range, and poor damage output. But that isn't it. While fighting, you have two different types of moves, punches and kicks. Each move you do adds 1 to that counter, and once you reach an appropriate combination, you can evolve. 3 or more punches lets you become Hitmonchan, a rushdown unit which counters every situation. The opposite with kicks makes you Hitmonlee, a long-range attacker that will spring you into a situation that helps him win. Combine both punches and kicks and you get Hitmontop, my personal favorite, and a blitzing unit who can easily hold combos in the best situation. These units are great for every situation in the path to come, but you need to learn your opponents if you plan to take the lead, because the wrong evolution can stump you up. Take Scrafty for example. I mentioned his AI loves to spam, and he can do it much faster than Hitmonlee can swing, so he's not a great pick. Hitmontop is better because he can avoid these issues while holding pressure onto Scrafty. Blaziken is another like this. Hitmontop's setup can make him easily punished, so someone like Hitmonchan can give appropriate counter to that rush. Great Tusk likes to rush in faster than Hitmonchan can prepare for, so going long distance with Hitmonlee gives you the advantage. These 3 are the best of the best, and they will help you out in every situation if you play it right. But once you find the weakness in your opponents, you can get to Gorachu. If you haven't been trained with Tyrogue yet, this fight will destroy you. It is even worse when you realize you are most likely going to lose the first round just to get a chance with your evolution. That, combined with having to learn a new weakness to Gorachu with each character, can be nauseating. But you can find that perfect matchup for you, and he will go down without a sitch. Now, everything I have said hasn't been bad. This is a path that will take trial and error, but it isn't outright hard once you figure out what you like. So, what's holding this path back? That's right. Every single evolution has their own ending. If you are going to achieve true success with Tyrogue, you need to beat this path and Gorachu over 4 times. When I learned that, my mind crumbled. No longer is it about figuring out the path, it's about executing it every single time, and then adjusting to beat Gorachu with a new playstyle. That alone makes this already difficult path a bigger pain. It will take so long to beat this path and achieve the best achievement with each character, including Tyrogue himself. After that reveal, you probably understand the absurdity that is my placement on this list. By all means does Tyrogue deserve to be the hardest character to master, purely because of how many times you have to fight this rigorous path and miserable boss with such an awful character. But there is one thing about Tyrogue that makes me set him apart in being easier. That is practice. When you beat something, you always come back with a new experience. You may pull the wrong evolution or struggle to count your punches and kicks, but the more you do this path, the more natural and experienced you become. You will get better fighting each of these fights because not only do you know what works, but you will get enough practice to attempt it with other evolutions. Other paths may be one and dones, but with Tyrogue, you can learn to master every single bit of his character. Eventually, you don't need the evolutions anymore. Once you win with everyone else, that just leaves you to master the weakest character in the game. So when you get to Gorachu and you finally get the courage to mash B and abandon your technique, you will show that rat how you have mastered every skill of your evolution. And that is what sets Tyrogue apart from the most miserable character with the hardest path in the entire game. Let's start from the beginning, all the way before we even select Lopunny. Take a look at her stats. Remember that as we move into our actual combat. See that beautiful spiral of stars at the corner of the screen? Each one correlates to an attack in your moveset. At first, these attacks have pitiful outcomes and uses. They give knockdown, they are hard to land, and they are low damage dealing. But using one of these moves gives you both its star and a buff to that move, either reversing its direction, giving it an effect, or preventing said knockdown. And once you get a set of stars, you can unleash Last Resort, an attack whose strength depends on the star count. A few won't do much, but all of them can blow through an opponent's health. The only downside is you lose all the stars and their additional buffs. Do you see the immediate issue here? The only way you can get the power her stat promises is by intentionally building attacks that are unreliable, specific, and have the opportunity to miss in both in getting them and landing the full attack. And since you have extremely low endurance, you can get punished and go down in seconds if you fail. Hell, not even if you fail, just by being a bad player because she's that fragile. As you can see, Lopunny is the character to challenge players. Mastering her requires the biggest risk and reward game ever. You need to learn her combos and train with her because she isn't just going to give you her max power. You need to earn it. And what better place to practice earning that strength than in her path? After all, these paths have more often brought out the best of characters. Surely our 8 fights do something to show the player what she can truly become, right? Every single fight in this path is a miserable and torturous experience. It doesn't start expecting you to learn the character like all the others. It starts expecting you gave that training room its all, because it won't hold back for a second. The first battle in this path is Heracross. Heracross! A fighter who, I will state again, is miserable to fight no matter what AI level they are on. Not only that, but they keep you from practicing building these stars and punish you for missing right off the bat. Breloom is a character who will kick your ass if you stay far away. You need to get up close, but don't get cocky because if you get knocked down, he will almost always hit you first upon wake up. And if you do get in, get ready to get a face full of shrooms. Phalanx, okay. okay, there isn't anything wrong with this battle. A fight that encourages you to use your last resort when you only have a few stars is genius. Chestnut is not only tanky, but he pushes you more than you do him. You need to not go for the stars you want because he has already trapped you or blocked the star you were seeking to get. The AI is at a level where Toxicroak will have mastered the art of combining his two playstyles, making it impossible to get in. You can try to stay long range, but once you land that purple star, oop, it's reversed, now have fun getting in. Slitherwing is at his hardest, nothing has changed here. But what makes this fight the worst of the Slitherwing matchups is purely you. You may have fought this guy over and over, but I dare not lie when I say you will have a miserable time putting your moveset to work on him. And since you have no promising experience learning Lopunny this entire run, the final fight with the newest character will result in you getting sent to the depths of hell with how poorly prepared you are. Nothing in this path sets you up for these battles. You can't figure out what works, you can't figure out your strengths, and you can't figure out how to win. Oh, and you thought all those previous fights were terrible? Well, I haven't even introduced you to the biggest threat in this path, Medicham. You may hear this and think this isn't that bad of a fight. As I said in his segment, he is a glass cannon. But let me ask you this. What happens when you fight a glass cannon with a character whose punches are weaker than the glass? You get the definition of misery! Medicham is the biggest wall to any strategy you could have towards him. His attacks have quick startup, long range, and cover any situation. He may be 1 health point shorter, but when his average damage topples Lopunny's this much, you will feel every ounce of pain she takes. He can easily break through your guards, and since so many of your moves make him knocked down, you can't hold a damn combo. He will always break through, he will always punish you, and you will go down over and over and over again. He is harder than any other matchup, any Gorchu matchup. This is single-handedly the hardest matchup in the entire game, and it belongs to the hardest character with the most poorly designed path in Pokémon Close Combat. But despite how hard of a spike the difficulty may be, there is hope on this path. It may make you fight the worst opponents possible before you even get good at the character. It may make you abandon the main mechanics that make up Lopunny. It may make you abandon your mental sanity. But through trial and error, you will come to beat this path and make it to the beast himself. Once you get to Gorchu, everything just clicks. You got pushed through a challenge like no other, and yet here you stand at the pinnacle of difficulty. You have harnessed what it means to be strong, deserving of the ultimate victory. It's only best you show it to that rat, once and for all. Wrong direction. Come in, come in. GG's! Guaranteed! Yes, dude. Yes, dude. I'm not doing that a third time. I'm done. Well, at least the footage got it. That's gonna be great for the video. Yes, dude. Yes! Now we wait till I have to go back and do these a third time, in case something didn't record. Oh god.